So good evening. This August 10th, 2021, Planning Board meeting for the town of Newport. It's 6:03 based on the clock on the wall. And we'll start by call to order. We'll start with Herb on my right.
Herb Kelly.
Tobin Menard.
David Burnham.
Sean Glasscock.
Ray Kibbe.
And we have an alternate sitting in the crowd. I would like to appoint Bert Spalding to the board to complete the 7-member board this evening. Please. So, you have to work from there because there's no chair, but.
Do you want a chair?
Okay. So first, and Ken Merrill, vice chair, standing in for the chair who needed to re-up. So first order of business, I would like to flip the agenda slightly to go to makeup of the board so that we can reappoint chairman and vice chairman for coming year. And at this point, I would entertain a motion for chairman of the board.
I motion that we accept David Burnham as chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Is there a motion for vice chair?
I'll make a motion for Kenny.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. With that being done, I will turn this over to David then.
Okay. Our first order of business is the continued business. Is this the right folder?
Yes.
I'd rather read off the folder that way. I don't have a problem. 2021 SDFP 002 Susan Levitt requests a final review for a minor subdivision property identified as map 116 lot 029 located at 16 4th Street in the rural zoning district. And do you have anything you'd like to add for the administrative review that, or you want me
Would
to
you
just
like
read?
me to read in the
Sure.
administrative review?
Yeah.
Sorry, hold on one second. I think I got it. Most homes on 4th Street have less than the required 200 linear feet of frontage, which is required for a rural zone. This case will be set forth to the ZBA on July 15th, requesting a variance for the required 200 linear feet is actually no longer applicable. She was continued till this month, but she will not be going to the ZBA. So I should have had that removed. Property at 16 4th Street is 10 individual lots. Applicant is looking to turn the 10 individual lots into 2 lots in accordance with the survey that you have attached. This action is a benefit to Susan Levitt / Clement and a benefit to the town of Newport. And that was my analysis.
Okay. And I believe Tom Dombrowski is stating what's going to be done. So I will give you the floor.
You're gonna do the application?
Oh, yeah. This is continued, right? Or is this a brand
Never
new?
voted on it, did we?
We continued it to date and time, but we never opened it.
Okay, so we have to accept the completed application. Do you have a motion to accept this complete?
I will make a motion to accept 2021 SDFP-002 as complete.
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, you guys have it. It's accepted. Say is 08.
Hello, Mr. Tom. How you doing? See,
Oh, yeah.
I have two more copies. Anyone I can read.
Oh, thanks, sure.
Okay, I'll put this
These gotta be annexed. Well, I mean merged and then.
Okay. So, what we had created was a lot with 100 feet of frontage and 10,000 square feet on the north half. And then the remaining land is 14,450 square feet. I had it planned before, but what I've added, a big note up here, property owner notes, what I call it. Susan Levitt is also known as Susan Crump, just for the record.
Okay.
There's nothing recorded to date. It won't be till there's a transfer. So it'd be written up as probably the deed is. I don't know which way you would word it when you put it in the deed, whether it be Susan Levitt or Susan Connor, AKA, one way or the other. But that's that. I don't know what the zoning was. I looked up, is this conforming in your book?
It's rural zone.
Yeah, but it has water and sewer.
Yes.
And I thought when you had water and sewer, that you were allowed to go to 10,000 square feet and 100 feet of frontage. I didn't reread it since I talked to you, but that's what I read the first time I looked at this.
I can remember something like that too.
If you have,
Yep, if you have both, you can have, unfortunately, rural has some of the strictest, the minimum lot area per dwelling unit,
Page 13.
9 for rural. Section 206.4. If you have water and sewer, it's 20,000 square feet per lot.
That's a straight R.
with water and sewer, it's
Yes.
10,000?
Yes, and
R1 is where, so, it's 10,000. That's what I was reading.
yeah, rural, oddly enough, and this could be addressed by the board if they wanted to, is one of the strictest zones with the most frontage, the largest setbacks, and amongst other things. So in the lot, and as of, she's supposed to have 200 feet, linear feet of road frontage for each lot.
And that, if they have water and sewer,
Yes, they don't even change that.
they don't even change that.
That, they don't give you a dispensation for
It's
that.
it seems like a kind of inappropriate zone for that whole area.
I don't know how that area is rural, but I didn't vote, obviously, I'm not a Newport resident. It does seem odd that a highly congested area is still, somehow, it wasn't moved a little, but it is what it is.
Is rural the only one that has that 20,000? And the rest of the zones are 10,000?
R1 is,
If they have water and sewer, very
Yeah.
few places in the rural zone have water and sewer.
Yeah.
Because they're usually not right in town.
Somehow I interpret that as an R1 zone.
Hold on, one minute.
Probably need a zoning map.
I've got it.
He's on number.
Let's
He
try
can
to
talk.
connect it.
Yeah.
no, he is,
I'm stepping off this case.
well, we need to declare that
Oh.
first.
Okay.
So, Steve. yeah.
I'll open it to the public, and you had a comment, sir?
For history, I believe the original thoughts were that rural is rural, not congested. So the side yards, et cetera, were greater. And if you want to make a rural district, you have it that way. Outside of that, you You're creating another R1.
She's rural. What you saw is the land use is single-family residency within the rural zone.
Is that what the tax card says?
Yes, it's exactly what the tax card says.
Rule.
R, and then it spells out the word rural.
So R1, you get to 10,000 and 100 feet.
All right.
That's where you.
Somehow we interpret that as R1.
I think because the land, and when I first, the land use says single-family residency, because that's the way she's utilizing the land within the rural zone. Would you, can I have that?
Do we have our?
Is the entire,
Is there an official zoning map?
Oh, yeah, you have.
Yeah. so maybe we should take a look
Okay,
at that.
I can bring that.
One question before you leave. Now, did the voluntary merger is for the 10 lots to that one lot? Or all together and then subdivided?
Yeah, where are we?
No voluntary merger.
So what is the,
You can't
So-
subdivide a big piece of property that hasn't been made one. You gotta do something with all these little lots.
right, so the deed says all these are individual little lots,
They are.
They're listed.
right? But the tax map shows
They're individual.
that they're all individual billed.
The tax bills are saying one. The tax map shows there's 10.
Right.
But we
So-
are billing her as one. I was gonna go get the zone. Do you want me to go get the zoning
Please.
first, and then I'll come
Yeah.
right back
So
to
we're-
make sure? It's big, so I'll,
So in order to do that, so technically she owns every lot.
Yes.
So in order to do that, in order to create them, you have to combine X3 into one and 4 into another.
so is there gonna be an involvement? Oh, no.
It's a voluntary merger of whatever lots make up that parcel and whatever lots make up the bottom parcel.
So what is this involuntary merger?
Well,
came in
that
our
was the
email?
conversation about the tax,
It has to be restored to
Right.
do it.
so,
That law's still in effect till, they'll probably extend that another 5 years. They've been doing that twice now. It's the other time.
Bert, go ahead.
We need to understand the statute. The towns were taking lots and combining them for tax purposes. And the legislature decided to put a stop to that and made it actually retroactive, reach back to the deed itself. So the deed didn't become a piece of toilet paper, it became a document. So 674, 40 AA, 44 AA,
39.
right, said that
I'm
you,
just gonna stick it right on the bottom
if
here.
the landowner
So you guys
did
can
not
read it.
voluntarily
I'll just stick it.
merge, and the
And then
town
you
had the
obviously
responsibility of determining
Wait,
that.
do I have it the way?
It was
and
the
this is-
town that had to determine that, not the landowner. And it also reached back to prior owners. So it had a grandfathered status. So all of your planning and zoning falls prostate to the new law.
Where's rural? Rural.
But that ends December 31st of this year. So that all being said, she has 10 lots.
In your rural zone.
And
That's incorrect.
if she had have built over the property line, she would have merged whatever those lots were, and she could have done that. So that is not here. Now she's about to do that, and when she does that, she's making a voluntary merger.
Something else.
That's what I was wondering. If it's voluntary merger or a subdivision of,
so Tom, on your plat to make it into 2 lots, is it do we know exactly which numbers are being combined to
No,
make?
we're not using any lot lines. I suggested voluntary merger and then it's done.
Right, it's
Then
that,
approve the subdivision. This is on R1, right here.
so it is all R1?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the whole thing right here. It's in the
Right.
color.
It's on the map, but not on the tax card, Tom?
That's right. But the
Okay.
map
right, so we can,
is true.
Okay.
so that changes your limitations, makes it fit your plan,
I
right?
say R1.
Right, okay, so,
Okay. Yeah, good.
but isn't it still better to do, just a quick, your new dividing line to make the 2 lots, does that fall exactly on one of these?
No,
It doesn't.
no. What we did is, we wanted to make it conform
Yeah.
to the R1, 100 feet and 10,000 square feet. And she wanted the line, actually, right where she wanted it, it came out.
To make it 10,000 feet.
Yeah. So that was,
I would have gone smaller.
and it's a good spot for the line too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's perfect.
No, and it's, as Bert was saying, we were talking about this law, if it, you know, if she requested it could revert back, but it already exists as individual lots. It's the tax card versus that conversation versus the deed at this point. You know,
Well, I'd say that map is,
well, that's an easy one. That's an easy one.
No, but this one here, we can't say you can subdivide this one lot, because it isn't one lot.
Right.
So either you have to merge everything voluntarily together, and then
And then split.
proceed with this.
that's why I suggested that. And what I'm looking for is a conditional approval subject to the merger. Recorded.
I guess what we're saying
That's
is,
pretty simple. She has to come back to the board for that.
Bert,
Tom, it's being done by her actions here. For a matter of fact, the statute is quite clear. It says in there, if a person had taken lots and built over the lines, he did a voluntary merger. And he cannot get that undone, because
Right.
he did not respect the property line.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that, use the word respect, but it does say, if, the one condition that changes that law is the condition that the property owner built over the property line. And that is what's happening here. So her consent is in fact in the action that's being taken tonight by her advocate.
That sounds logical.
so even though she didn't build all the way across all the lots, they all fall into that category? Is that
All
what
of
you're
them.
saying?
If you got 4 lots.
Yeah,
And you decide to build a barn over this property line.
Yeah.
You have now married lot 1 and 2.
yeah.
You have to.
But on this one here, she's not into this area with any of her buildings. So,
Wait a minute, all of her are, she's taking one lot and using approximately 4 for it, and the other lot, 5.5, or whatever it is, 4.5 and 5.5.
do we have the,
but she hasn't built anything on this one, so they're not voluntarily merged yet.
She's doing a document and going through this procedure. It's obvious
Well-
that she's cognizant of her behavior.
so,
Well, this is.
does this match the tax map?
That would
No,
automatically.
the tax map, okay,
But
so
that's the
that
reality.
shows,
That's reality.
that really shows the separate lots. We show that she has 10 separate lots. We bill as one tax bill instead of 10.
For all 10. So the
Yes.
yellow is the tax bill.
Yes, is how it's mapped. So we know there are 10 lots, but we only bill it as one. Now, I looked, that it says rural everywhere, even on the taxes. So one thing's wrong. There's either that map's wrong, or we've coded this area wrong. I'm kind of hoping the map is easier to fix. But again, something I have to go figure out who's wrong. But right now, I'm showing it as rural.
Well, I could give you some more input on that. I did a subdivision for Fran's here on Elm Street, and the lots created were R1, same color.
What was the Spring Street?
Several years back.
That one was a B1 oddly, that, and then,
Oh, 'cause it was on that side of Spring
and
Street.
everything else was R1.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So,
One
but just,
more. Just
Go
read,
ahead.
read the Mets and bounds for R1. And that'll tell you in a nutshell.
yeah, it should all match the map and or,
The,
Bert, what you're saying is by making this request to make the 2 lots,
Yes.
that would be tantamount to saying a voluntary merger was performed on these lots.
Yes, it is. Yes, because she hired the individual and has had that person do it. She is cognizant of her actions, that she is joining particular lots. And she's doing that in 2 instances here. She has 10, and she's dividing it into current, the house that's this way, and this
a
one.
separate lot.
2 separate lots. But when she does that, she's marrying them. She'll now receive 2 tax bills.
so,
And the only thing that would put the fly in the ointment here is if you had 4 and 4 here, and you left 2 undone here in the center. So I would, if I was helping her, I would say, I think you want to go,
Don't cloud the water.
yes, you do a voluntary merger. That, I don't think that's happening. All lots are figured into the 2 subdivisions here now. Am I correct?
Yeah, we're not using any lot lines on that old map, on this.
Because you're not using it, doesn't mean anything. The
Right. All
the piano keys that are going up there are all affected by this subdivision. Is that correct?
So the
Yes.
best way to do it is voluntary merger all 10 together, and then annex that piece off, or create the 2 different lots,
So.
based on where Tom's got the line.
Well, I'll go back to the plan, like, we have the buildings on here, if you want to get a rough idea. Are we done with this?
Yeah, I mean,
For now.
I can see
Sure,
it
yeah,
looking
take
at
it down,
the 2
you
different
just-
plans, but.
It's either that or she accepts the
Thanks for bringing that
tax
out.
map as the town has it written, and we
No,
go forward.
well, since she has 10 lots, and she's not doing it like a perfect pie, or bread, we said, she's not doing an exact 6 and 4, but she still has so much leeway because of the 10 lots, that we were gonna go to the planning board, and we could go another route too, but that she wants it to look like this, and she's gonna eliminate all 10 to go to 2.
The binding piece is the bottom lot, the existing house and the 2 garages, right? Set that bottom lot, because they're
Absolutely.
existing. So if you did voluntary merger to make it all one lot to conform, right?
Well-
And then you just split off that upper piece.
How about this, Ken? The house itself is built, the existing structure, is built over a number of property lines.
So it's automatically.
Those are already
Well,
married.
voluntary merger is as simple as a piece of paper,
By the actions.
right? Yeah, I
Do you
agree.
have a copy of
It-
674 that we can read? Because
Right
there
here.
is a statement that if the lot is
I
on-
gave it to them.
674
I
was
get it.
On,
39AA.
Tom, was there ever anything on the
I got it right here.
proposed What was that second lot? Was there ever anything built on?
Here,
the
I've got
proposed
it.
second lot?
that I know of.
No,
It's just a 5-year extension.
other than a
It used to be
driveway.
just a big forest. What I was told by Mrs. Robertson,
I don't
I
think it's the
think,
right one, dude.
back in the day, they used to put those
Camps.
camps
Yeah.
there.
Because
the house was 1940. And that driveway was just an easement, when they were working on the town water sewer. That's why that was put there.
The town did it.
The town did that.
But it's gonna be the driveway to that lot.
Eventually, that's what I ended up doing, but,
Does the town turn around there when they plow?
yes. Yeah, and the way it reads is you're allowed to come on and come off.
674.
We just pass it through.
That's why I asked for a conditional.
You got it on your,
That's why you were voluntary merger.
Right, so if you did a voluntary merger, we got one lot, and then you look at that, okay, we're gonna annex off that one piece
No,
based on that survey.
It'll be a subdivision.
Or so- Yeah,
From a perspective of people trying to watch this particular committee, more than any other, you talk over each other a lot. And all the microphones pick everything up, and it's very hard for anybody to discern who's hearing what.
Okay.
So it'd be better if you could establish who needs to talk when, just for the audience's perspective.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Did I include an RSA in your packet? I know, sorry. I thought I did. Does anyone have the RSA that addresses this in your paperwork?
we had it, it was in last
Last
month.
Right here, isn't it?
Did you have it? What was the number?
Yes.
Nowadays.
674:39-AA. But should I print it?
444?
674-49,
39?
I think.
39.
I think we can do it really simply. If she accepts this tax map as the gospel, we can go on.
All I wanna do is just,
Because, I mean, that's the way it's billed, that's the way it's in history. We don't have to mess with the little lot.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I definitely think Bert's right.
For 444.
By subdividing these two lots, she's voluntarily merging it anyways. She's saying that this is the lot line. She's already voluntarily done it. I definitely
If it would have been neat pieces of 6 and 4, we wouldn't have had, she wouldn't have had the survey done. That is a lot, she wouldn't have ever had to
Right.
see
Do you
anyone.
want this?
I would agree with that. If not for, there's built buildings on the bottom, but on the, when he creates the new top, there's not, so those could still be individual lots.
I'm not even talking about the building. I'm saying by subdividing these two lots, you're voluntarily
Right, but-
merging the 10.
She doesn't have 2 lots.
She doesn't have, she has one lot.
Right.
Well,
On
By
record,
subdividing that one lot, it's on record.
Dave, man,
yes, Bert.
okay. 674, 39, small a. Deliberately, I'm reading A, not double A. Roman 1, any owner of 2 or more contiguous, pre-existing, approved, or subdivided lots or parcels who wishes to merge them for the municipal regulation and taxation purposes may do so by applying to the planning board or its designee. So there's the process for doing it. It's much more than that. I've just read that pertinent part. Now let's go to AA. Restoration of involuntarily merged lots, which is the taxation that you see.
Right.
She didn't voluntarily do it,
So the town did it.
so it's not done. The Constitution is clear, the deed rides, and the statute is clear. So she doesn't have 1 lot, she has 10.
Well,
Now, every lot that she's built over the property line, she has married those lots. So we could figure out which lots she really has and how many she has, but it is irrelevant to what's happening here.
but if you read down to Roman numeral 2 in there,
Lots or
it only
parcels,
reverts back if she asks for it.
that's correct.
If she doesn't ask for it, as of December 31st, 2021, it stands.
Wait a minute now.
It doesn't automatically become what you're saying. You
Yes,
have
it
to, if she asks for it,
Okay, I'll find it here and I'll read it to you. It says if a property owner has built over the property line, the marriage is complete, and doesn't need anybody's
right,
permission.
but under restoration of involuntary merged lots, 674-39 AA, number 2, Roman numeral 2, that's where he talks about you have to ask. Under A, the request is submitted to the governing body prior to December 31st.
Yes.
So you have to request for it to revert back to the 10 lots.
True,
Could I speak,
but no.
Mr. Chairman?
So we don't need the 10 lots. She hasn't requested
Okay,
it, so we can go by what she's got right here.
What the tax map says.
Ken, I was told by Lou Elliott at a town meeting one time, Mr. Spalding, you cannot read the law out of context, you have to read the whole thing. Now I need to go to the very statute you quoted and go to B, small b. No owner in the chain of title voluntarily merged his or her lots. Voluntarily did it themselves.
I agree, I'm not disputing that.
So in this case, every lot underneath that house has already been merged by the owner's actions. Done deal. So she really doesn't have 10 lots at this point, but she doesn't have 1 either.
6 and 4.
Excuse me?
6 and 4. The house and garages are on 6 lots.
So that'd be 1.
It's not
Well,
quite.
they're what, 24-foot lots.
Yeah.
So every 24 feet.
I don't know how accurate this map is, but it shows it as 6 and 4.
Actually, she didn't build over that one.
So my point being, what's happening here tonight is by her actions coming forward with a representative, she is stating it. Now, yes, she can go in front of the selectmen and all she's got to do is go in and ask. And I've done it twice myself already. So she doesn't have to even go with a piece of paper. It's their burden of proof to prove that she can't do it because she merged them already. And so this is a voluntary merger already being
I'm not,
done.
how you, potato, how you get there is still voluntary merger, I agree. But,
Typically, voluntary mergers are though for exact specific pieces of property. And while she has 10, my understanding is the line that is dividing this now into 2 is cutting through the middle of 1.
That's why we were saying, David and I were saying, if you do a voluntary merger to merge the lots as identified in this deed that's attached, to make one big lot, and then you simply subdivide that into 2 lots, is the simplest way to.
But you guys could
approach
then
this.
turn her down. That's why she doesn't want to release the 10 lots, because you could say, no,
So,
we're not going to let
hold
you
on.
do
We
this.
could say no at any
Hold on,
time with
hold on.
anything on a thing, unless there, but it still has to be a reason. It can't be just done.
So that brings us back to Tom's original idea.
But she has not asked the town for this to be reinstituted.
Isn't that
So
what
we're still at the one lot,
Oh, that was printed.
and he's presented his drawings and his pins,
This is just agenda.
and that is all we need to do,
She's on.
because we do not need to revert back to the 10 lots. It has no jurisdiction on this merger.
She was
I
on
mean, on
the
this subdivision.
8-2
Agenda.
agenda, but it was canceled. So
Bless
she's
you.
automatically moved to the 8-19. I
So
believe.
based on this document, this is a request to go to the Board of Selectmen to do just what we're talking about. Under chapter 674-39AA, involuntary merger of 10 lots to be restored. That is the request that exactly what we're talking about. So she's gonna go to the next Board of Selectmen meeting to get that done. Once that is done, that restores it back to match the deed. Then you take and you voluntary merge the 10 lots together, and then we get back to this under R1, as we just gotta verify the map. And if it meets R1, then that's where that will fall in.
Well, I don't know if this is R1. My belief is it's rural.
I can't find in my book the, like Bert said, the meets and bounds of,
It's right, it's the first thing in the,
R1, if you,
I
it
would
was
maybe
R1.
And it should say east of such and such a road, and
yep. And it's right at the beginning,
Oh,
first paragraph.
oh,
Of R1.
Should be, yes. For all zones.
I didn't see it.
so because
No,
this has
the
already
following
started, we
regulations
can't
are
proceed.
defined containing articles.
We're simpler to leave it alone.
So if it was R1, you would need 75 feet of road frontage, and you would need, only need 10,000 square feet per lot, if it was R1. Again, I'm not really sure what's wrong. If it's the map that's wrong, or if it's our tax records. I have a feeling it would be the map over.
So,
So we can't find the meets and bounds there in the ordinance?
They're not in your office?
it's not in the front page of it, we gotta have it somewhere. It's not,
It's not in your office?
Should describe it, I think it describes like Kellyville district and measurements and all that.
It does, yeah, and 500 feet here and 1,500 feet there, and runs parallel to this. so
it's
when
on the Kellyville one, agreed. It is not on the R1 one.
Well, that's the Wild Wild West, they don't have any boundaries out there.
Maybe it's the whole thing and everything but, I don't, but I'm just, page
You're right.
13, Bert, is not there.
I believe.
But, so in any event, that conversation, Christina, that research could be done while she's going to the planning board. I mean, to the Board of Selectmen, according to her request, right? So she's gonna go to the next meeting. So we can't move this along until that happens anyways. We're just looking for, Tom's just looking for a preliminary based on this, correct?
Well, look for a final subject to that.
Yes,
Pretty simple.
That's
And
what he's
she's-
supposed to begin with.
we're dragging her through the razor blades.
It doesn't happen.
Okay.
If she chooses not to merge them, then it doesn't happen.
So if we look at this under the guise of R1, do we meet R1? That's the conversation, right?
Even if you look at it under R2, R1 or R2 doesn't make any difference,
Can I-
whatever it is.
Can I, yeah, this R1, Tom Dombrowski for all this, listen, but this is R1, like I said, all this yellow area, I did work over here and it was R1, it's been through the planning board approved, no problem. Now it's all of a sudden not R1 anymore. It's all well described and it looks like it's so many feet south of 103, so many feet north of Elm Street, and that, it's written down somewhere.
She's somewhat grandfathered.
Should be written
due
right
to
in
the
the
fact
zoning.
she has 10 lots. We're pretending she has to meet the confines of what's outlined. She right now doesn't meet any of them based on the 10 lots. So that's why I wrote she's doing the town a benefit by not asking for a bunch of lots that are gonna be separate. She's saying, please just, I know I have 10, void the house which sits on about 5.5. I want the other 4 to be restored, period. She's just saying, will you do this line here and call it a day?
I understand what you're saying, but because she's asking to have them brought back to the grandfather clause, then we can't do this until this is done first.
But we could make it a conditional, we could, if we reviewed that under R1, we could make a conditional that the R1 be verified and that it gets accepted by the Board of Selectmen.
Why would R1 need to be verified?
Because that's what that plan is based on.
To get her down so she doesn't have to go for variance.
Right.
Is it not?
Right.
She doesn't need to go for variances, though. She already has a bunch of lots that are not conforming.
She has a bunch of lots non-conforming, and she's making it less non-conforming, but it's still gotta go there for the opinion. And that's,
Semantics.
We really can't figure out if that's R1 or not.
I'm looking for the meets and bounds, and I can't find it.
legislatively, if it isn't in that book, it's gotta be very soon.
Yeah.
Just,
That's not in your office somewhere, Christine?
I have not seen written boundaries for the zones. I always use the map.
But
But I
go to the
agree.
page, the Kellyville one, which is on page.
Yeah, I saw that,
11.
the Kellyville.
It's very clearly in there.
Absolutely, that's the only zone. And this is a
Wait,
guess.
you
I
said
can
that was
guess
the older-
why this is here.
you said that was the older zone?
Only zone.
Only zone.
And I can guess why.
The RC isn't described in the first paragraph?
The RS, the,
Rural commercial? Rural commercial?
What about just regular rural?
oh, yes, it is. Rural commercial also is. Okay, so is Kellyville. R1 isn't. R2 isn't. B1 isn't. Heavy commercial
So R1,
isn't.
75, or 100 feet. It's got sewer. If it's got water.
If I can do one more comment. Everybody's silent, why not? We've been at people sitting home listening to nothing. I would think that you would do it conditional, because the selectmen have no choice but to approve her merger. No choice. It isn't as though they could say, we're gonna do these lots and those lots.
Right.
They have to back off 100%. Just a
And
minute, Dave.
that's true. Then she gets her 10 lots back.
Let me finish my point, Dave.
Yep.
Okay? So they're going to approve it. It's a fait accompli. So that being said, this conditional on that, she doesn't have to go any further. She comes to the selectmen and asks, and that's it. It's simpler for the person and simpler for the process.
So then how do the 10 lots become one lot to be subdivided when they're not? That's the
That's
point
the condition
of this.
She's choosing to marry 4 and 6. That's her choice, the way she marries them. She can go to them and say, I want you to take lot 3 and I want you to add it to lot 4. She can do that right now. It doesn't even need to come to the planning board. She can build over that line by just putting a shed there. She can put a shed right over the property line. She can put 10 sheds out there over each property line to marry them.
So, if we made a motion to accept this, subject to voluntary merger and the zoning board variance if need be, no? Because it's gonna be R1.
It's all grandfathered, doesn't need to.
Doesn't
All
mean-
of these changes came after, past tense, she's grandfathered.
Well, she's got 10 lots, right, that don't meet any zoning. She's becoming more conforming, which is why she's doing a benefit to the town.
That's correct.
So we just
Yeah.
need a,
I think we do it, when we talked about the two R1, verification of R1 zone, because the plan appears to meet R1, and the selectmen vote to restore the 10 lots, which lines up with the deed.
can we just word it as a voluntary merger?
We don't have to.
I thought somewhere between getting her 10 lots back and subdividing one lot, you have to bring those lots together to one lot.
She has 10 lots. She's just asking you to turn them into 2. She has 10 non-conforming
This is-
lots is the day's standard.
How many times are we gonna have this issue?
No.
If,
So, if we do those things, and they're very simple to do, right, for her and the lady's interest, she has to wait for that meeting anyways to revert, even though it's an automatic. It's gotta go through and
Yeah.
get their stamp. We need to verify R1, because we can't do it at the moment.
what, that's what I don't understand, because that's the one thing I'm worried about.
Well, if we can verify the meets and bounds of R1, and verify that these lots are in R1, right? We can evaluate that plan under R1, and the only condition would be they have to get the revert back, and then it's a voluntary merger, which is a very quick, you don't even have to come to the planning board to get the voluntary merger. And then it's submit that plan for final approval. Or it's conditional at that point, and once those are done, we can sign on that. Once the Board of Selectmen signs, we can sign on that.
So if it's not R1, what?
If it's not R1, then Tom has a math problem. If it's R, then he's got a 100-foot frontage on the upper lot, which has to be 200 feet, as we were just talking. So if you go back to R,
But now your grandfathered status
She's
prior to the
grandfathered
zoning
to the
ordinance,
10 lot.
1921 is the earliest deed in this.
I think it's September 20th.
But
Well, it
you're
says-
creating a new lot. You're creating a new lot here.
Can I make a couple of comments?
Sure, go ahead, Tom.
If you look at the zoning map, and where they drew the line, it's pretty logical that that whole block would be that one zone. I mean, they went up to the intersection of Elm Street and 103, and they went so many feet this way and so many feet that way from Elm Street. If you pull up the old plan I drew in frames, it shows a zone line on it when I did that subdivision. And the other thing is, if it was my property, there's no way in heck that I would record or sign off a merger without the planning board doing approval. Because if you sign the merger, you're done, and if once the planning board says, no, we don't like it,
There you go.
then it's stuck with one lot.
And Dave,
So
I would
that's-
add one thing that will convince you, I'm absolutely sure. She's got 10 lots out there. And tomorrow she goes in to this young lady here and says, I want 10 building permits. And the houses are going to be 23 feet wide. There's not going to be any side yard to meet your side yard, no front yard, no nothing. She gets a building permit. No? The only thing that come in there is fire safety, the 10 feet, that's the only thing that would come in. You can't, she's got a grandfathered status on that lot to use it and build on it and live on it.
Yeah, but
so, under restoration, which I believe here is item 6, it will restore to pre-merger status. So, do we know exactly when the town did the tax merger? What is the date of that event?
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
believe,
So that's where it reverts back to. Not to the eons of time. It goes back to that date solely.
so Sullivan County Record of Deeds has her deed, which is the accurate, most up-to-date deed that shows 10 lots, which is what the mapping system shows 10 lots.
I'm not worried about the deed. I'm worried about when did the tax bill merge those to one lot?
That's a simple question for Tammy.
Tammy,
Yeah, she can
You
answer
know,
that question.
when did the yellow version of this get created? When did this get created? That is the date when it gets reverted back to, in following with the language in this here. And then based on that date is when any and all zoning laws would apply. What zone it was in, what lot, blah, blah, blah. In my reading of that. I urge anybody to read it, that is 674-39 AA, Roman numeral 6. It doesn't go back to no zoning laws per back in yesteryear. It goes back to that date.
Well, if you had a lot from 1921 that you did nothing with, the town would have done nothing with it.
Right, but the town created the issue that's under 674-39A, right? The town involuntarily merged those lots for tax purposes
Now,
at some point in time.
you would be correct if this was the following procedure. She bought 4 lots in 1921. The person, excuse me, not her, somebody else. We'll use
Whatever, all right.
someone else here. He bought 4 lots, and then he bought 2 more from this guy, and 2 more, and that's how the 10 came to be. No, in 1921 it lists all 10 lots, all the way up through every deed transaction, lists them by number. Am I right?
Yes.
By number. So, no matter when they did it, doesn't make any difference. She had 10 lots.
Well, what I'm saying is, the town made the error, okay? The town has to correct that error. So, to correct that error, you go back to the date they made that error, okay? And restore them to their status as individual lots as of that date. Then you would look at, okay, what, do we have to pull a permit or not? Then it would go back and apply to the zoning laws that were established at that date in history.
Mr. Chairman, can I
The
make
lots,
this
the lots
statement?
pre-exist the zoning by almost 40 years.
So, if I can make a statement, what I believe happened, and from my speaking with Tammy, is she goes, I've never seen these not merge. Of course, she hasn't worked here for that long, so we can investigate it. Whoever broke up this land and had it subdivided in these nice little fingers all over the place, the belief is that they said, buy 1 lot, buy 50 lots. They're all like $1,000 or $1, $100. So then when one person, the original person, said it's Christina, I say, well, I'd like these 10 pieces of the pie. It was written in the deed, but then since it said Christina Donovan, Christina Donovan, Christina Donovan, Christina Donovan, we automatically put it as one immediately. It was not like I got, because it was all written on one deed, which I confirmed with Sullivan County Record of Deeds that you don't need separate deeds for it to be legally separate lots. So my understanding is that the origination of buying lots, it was taxed as one.
So my suggestion now, because this is getting very confusing, and we're not gonna solve it, would be the Board of Selectmen to ask their council under 674-39 AA, when we revert back under this, what is the established law?
We cannot extinguish the constitutional value of a recorded deed. It is it. Anything we do has to be done correctly and constitutionally. This is correcting the errors that have been done in the past of melding them without the owner's consent. So now, what has the owner consented to, whether it be her or someone else? Every property line, 24 feet long, that goes underneath that house has become one lot already, period. Regardless of what the tax says, period. In my case, I have, when the first purchase was 3 lots. And one was an island. And So it's in front of the selectmen right now. They have no choice. That island has a deed description. They gotta give it to me. They can't take it away. So, that being said, right now, what does she really have there by this statute? Every lot line that goes underneath the house has already been married. Period. But the others have not.
So what excerpt in the code tells us that they're automatically merged if we build over a lot line?
It's in
Yes.
that
And
regulation.
And it comes here that when the owner does it, no owner in the chain of title voluntarily merged his or her lots. If any owner in the chain of title voluntarily merged his or her lots, then all subsequent owners shall be stopped from requesting restoration. So you can't undo what a prior person did. So whoever built that house, if they built it over 6 lots, there would have been 6 weddings.
Right, but where's the natural tie that you're talking about that goes, so if you own 2 pieces and you build a garage that was over the line, but you didn't merge the lots, what RSA tells you that you've automatically merged your lots?
Right here, right here. I just
By
said,
your actions.
right. No owner in the chain of
What are you
title.
reading? Where are you reading?
B, 39 AA. I'm reading out of the supplement, and I don't know if the statute has changed or not. Well, it must have changed in order to be in the supplement. So I'm reading the latest version, providing the supplement is 2020 supplement. So under small b, no owner in the chain of title voluntarily merged his or her lots. If any owner in the chain of title voluntarily merged his or her lots, then all subsequent owners shall be stopped from requesting restoration. The municipality shall have the burden of proof to show that any previous owner voluntarily merged his or her lots. And
So
building
you're
over-
saying that by building the house on, we'll call them 1, 2, and 3 lots, not only those got merged, but all of them that she owns?
No, 1, 2, and 3.
Then somehow we gotta get these all together, which means she has to get this done through the selectmen, then it has to be merged, and then it can be subdivided. Because you're not just asking for the 5 lots to be merged,
I'm not disagreeing with you, Dave,
right?
but the selectmen cannot say no. So therefore, it's a fait accompli. So at this time right here, if you say subject to, if they don't do it for some ungodly reason, then you're protected. But if they do it as they have to do, she's done. And we eliminate some of the aggravation that has to be had in order to have property rights.
Okay. So we have to have two items in there. One will be that it is in R1, and number 2, that the selectmen okay the involuntary merger restitution.
And if it's not in R1,
Then we have to come back and ask for a variance.
well, no, if it's not in R1, she doesn't have to go to any board. She can just voluntarily merge her 4 lots. She just won't be able to use this survey. That's it. It'll be over. She won't see anyone.
Right.
She wanted it slightly differently, and I thought it should benefit the resident, but she won't come to anyone at that point. She'll just voluntarily merge her the N4 lots, and I'll come up with the exact line.
You said it was basically the same anyway.
So she'll go to BOS, and then the only unfortunate thing is that we cannot use Tom's survey, which is the way exactly she wanted it. But we definitely would not come back to this board.
Well, if it was my lot, I would voluntarily merge it completely and then go with Tom's drawing and be done with it. But that has to be in the motion.
I'd like to make a motion then to accept 2021 SDFP-002, subject to the voluntary merger from the Board of Selectmen and R1.
Zone designation.
Zoned as R1.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
One abstention would be Ken.
And I'm not voting, I'm out.
Bird had recused himself prior.
Okay, so we're
I'll give you your,
done with that.
we'll go to BOS on the 19th. You know what, I am gonna find out if it's on there,
Thrown
but
it
I
away.
don't think it is.
I can't tell it.
If it is, you're going. Because those are the only two good ones. So then we're going.
It's like a city
Yeah.
block.
It seems like we
It's
just,
all
on the
right.
tax card,
Find that out.
It's
If it's
definitely
on
not
there, she's
a,
going then.
yeah.
You're sure? Okay, well then she's going then.
I don't see any cows up there.
You don't, and one,
I bet there is some chicken though. I don't want it. You dig it.
if it's our,
Ken, do you want
yeah,
your,
and then if it's our one.
Oh, yeah.
next,
All we will use the
I have
Mylar
multiple
side.
copies.
If it is our one,
Easy part.
after BOS, we just would need
I
a
was
Mylar.
playing
Yeah.
disagree. I think we're mixing statutes. We mix statutes, and I don't like it.
I don't know where it says that if you put a
thank you, Tom.
house on a property line, then
Thank you, boy.
it merges.
Thank you.
That's where I'm,
It's not in there. Yeah.
exactly my point.
Even in these notes.
Okay, that is, why have we got Chloe Urban?
That was from the last one, because that's in the wrong folder.
All right, where's the shirt?
Yes.
We'll fix that, Dave.
I did give everyone a copy of the new business.
That's that.
So we're going to receive them officially.
And I'll officially reseat Bert Spalding as the alternative to the vacant position. All right, now back to new business is the shed ordinance, public notice, discussion, and alterations if needed.
So, point of order, I would
Go ahead.
like to make a agenda shift to discuss board participation and makeup and participation for alternates participating versus full members
Okay.
before we go to shed ordinance.
We have a motion to change the order to, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that will go to that.
So the background of this is, at the last meeting, we had alternate members, Bert Spalding, Dave Kibbe, sit in place of either members that weren't here or vacant seats. Technically, I did not formally sit them, but as I contested to Christina, in my history on this board, we've always set the alternates, whether announced or not, to fill chairs, because participation has waned, and we always do that to get either a quorum or just more participation. Doing that, it was questioned our rules and procedures of what can a alternate member do as a participant on the board. So under our planning board rules and procedures, under item 5, it states that an alternate, when seated, can participate in conversation with the public and/or the board. It's under full item 5, but then they cannot make motions or vote in any decisions. And that's both at public hearings and/or during normal board meetings, in accordance with item 5 on page 1, which also marries with 673:6 and its subparagraphs. But it also, under the rules, as a planning board, we can make our own rules under That's under 673, 676, excuse me. And this set of documents says that we've done that. And if we go to page 2, under meetings, the first full paragraph after item 4, where it's a quorum, it describes quorum and setting alternates to gain a quorum. I question the validity of that statement, because how can you have a quorum if you have a alternate who's a non-participating member, therefore you don't have a quorum, so we have trumped ourselves there. But if you read the next full paragraph, it says, if any regular board member is absent from a meeting or hearing or disqualifies him or herself from sitting on a particular application, the chairman shall designate one of the alternate members to sit in place of the absent or disqualified member. And that's the seating that we talked about. Such alternate shall have all the powers and duties of a regular member in regards to any matter under consideration on which the regular member is unable to act. Which that paragraph, the way I read that, says if the alternate members are placed at the board, they are full acting members, which trumps paragraph 5
They have to be
above.
designated for a specific absent or
So-
vacancy.
And as I stated, so maybe we gotta back up last week and we gotta fix that because they didn't officially state them.
Are
However,
you,
in all of the years that I've been on this board, we've done this repeatedly, going back to Davis chair, Howard Dunn as chair. Pretty loosey-goosey rule.
it says the member disqualified shall leave the board during all deliberations, and then it goes on. And it's that member that does not vote on anything that's said.
Well, that's
not just the.
That's if you disqualify or recuse yourself. But up in this, I'm reading in this paragraph here. So, if,
The statement that's most relevant is yours. The statement that if in fact one person steps down and an alternate steps in and he has not full responsibility and/or say, you don't have a quorum.
correct.
But it does say that, it says such alternate shall have all the powers and duties of a regular member in regards to any matter under consideration on which the regular member is unable to act. The alternative should continue until the matter is complete and the regular member does not vote on that matter.
So they-
That's either from being absent or recusing themselves, that they're talking to that member.
Right, or if we have an empty seat, we've always set alternate members,
Right.
at least in, and I'm only gonna speak to my participation on this board.
And as soon as they are appointed to the board to sit, they become a full acting member for the duration until that person who they sit for either,
Exactly, they have to be
Return.
designated for
But
a
under-
specific person.
But
and
under
that
item
was not done.
5,
And the alternate shall do whatever the person that's missing would have told him to do. I would make a motion at this point, as an alternate, I would make a motion at this point that the Board of, Planning Board set this on their next agenda for review after people have time to study it, and
You actually,
figure out.
you're not an alternate, you're a full
You-
member
you
for
are
the
seated.
vacancy.
once you're seated, you're a full member.
I was being,
Oh, facetious, okay, because I'm like, this is gonna kill me if we don't do it.
so, yes, and so it's going to take, in my opinion, it's going to take a restructuring of the rules and procedures, because currently, paragraph 5 on page 1, and paragraph under meetings on page 2, in that paragraph, contradict one another.
I can look into that. My understanding is if everyone addresses their
So-
name and exactly if they're a member or an alternate and who they're sitting in for, that's how you're designated specifically.
it's all nothing, it's all nothing.
I mean, to me, if I'm not here and an alternate sits down in my spot and he doesn't tell him, no, you can't be here,
But it
it's
it
implied.
starts with the very
He's
first.
been designated then.
And that's, and I contest, in my history on the board, we have always done that. And I've talked with others on other boards who do the same exact
You have to
thing.
Would it matter
specifically
if
say
you were
who
the
the alternates
BOS rep or not?
But it does state at the very first statement
That's
after
who
me,
you
it
said
says that the
alternate
regular
board.
board meeting member is
As long as
absent
we've been
from
on
a
this
meeting.
board.
Let me finish. If a regular board member is absent from a meeting or disqualifies himself from sitting on a particular application, then you designate one of the alternate members to sit in place of the absent or disqualified member. Now,
And that's
if
just what we
the,
did
if the
in
person is set for an absent member, which is somebody that isn't there, which because we didn't have a quorum,
We did.
we have a vacancy, that's considered absent. You do not have somebody to fill there. So you need to fill it to get your full board. You can
We
have
actually-
that person in there,
But Dave,
but if somebody steps down, and if you can call legal and ask them,
I've already done that.
and then that regular member does not vote, because it says the alternate should continue until the matter is complete. The regular member does not vote on that matter, referring to the
fully
one on the
agree
top
with
that
you.
either
I fully agree.
disqualified himself or is vacated.
Absolutely, everyone agrees with you on that,
Okay,
Dave,
because he was appointed.
so why do we have to we don't have to rewrite anything?
I agree, I don't think we do either.
paragraph 5. However, they shall not be allowed to make or second motions. Right there in a nutshell. There's the contradiction.
That's
This-
only if they're not specifically designated for an absent member or a vacant seat. They're not allowed to.
Right, if we had a full, just say we had 7 members here, you were a regular.
I can't do anything.
And somebody else came, if you were a regular member and we had all 7 of us sitting here, the 8th and 9th person, both being alternates, could come in here. They could participate in everything going on. They cannot vote at that time because they're not sitting for anybody.
It doesn't say that here.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So
It's
the way this starts out, I mean, 673:11 states exactly what paragraph 5 on the front page of this. Alternate members have no voting capabilities whatsoever. But it refers you further back to 676 for the ability of the planning board to make the rules, their own rules.
Actually, the number 5 states alternates who are not activated to fill the seat of an absent or recused member cannot vote. The minute they are activated to sit in a vacancy, an absent member or recused member, then they have all the rights of a normal full member.
Where does it say that?
It's right on the first one, number
First sentence of
5.
5.
It's, they can only not vote if they're not activated. That
And
was,
the 4.
if they're not activated for who they're
So-
sitting for.
Einbach, Tobin's statement, I think said it very clearly. The implied consent has been exercised at this table time and time and time and time again. Could I say it 17 more times? Time and time and time again.
It
Okay.
doesn't change the rules, though.
Well, if we're gonna do that, we're gonna go back through every Vimeo, we're gonna go back and revote. We've had meetings where, in order to get a quorum, we've had to sit even two alternates to get a quorum. Okay?
That's
We
different.
violated the law there.
That's different when there's...
Straight up.
No, you didn't.
We shouldn't even had a meeting. How literally do you wanna read the text? Let's read it.
I made my motion, it died for lack of a second, but I'll make it again.
I'll second it.
The first one or the one I'm about to make?
And I may not be here to see the next meeting, so that'll help too. This is ridiculous.
Review comments at the next meeting. Give the board, all the board time to digest and
We
wait.
have a motion, do we have a second? Ken seconded it. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? And we will table it till the next meeting to have time to digest it.
So with that being said, I don't believe we can go on to the shed ordinance in any point.
Yeah, we can.
No, because it's a question. The issue questions the validity of that meeting.
Which is why if you read this, it's back to its beginning.
Well, then we can't do that because we gotta have a public hearing to do that.
This
This is
is,
a
I did, I
public hearing.
reposted it,
No, reposted.
I reposted it. If you
So we
would,
can-
So we gotta open a public hearing then and
Yeah.
start from
you
there.
could start from scratch again, just because of the error in procedure.
Yeah.
There was an error in procedure last year around the shed ordinance, and obviously with the abundance of caution, I don't want to do another procedural error with this shed
But
ordinance.
if changes are made at any public hearing in that process, no matter how many of them there are, you must have another one.
Absolutely.
If you've made changes, and there is a word in there, and it's not substantive, but it is something.
Absolutely.
It can't be a comma or something of
Substantive.
that nature. It has to be a regulation change. Then you must rehear.
Absolutely. I think we should even, once we solidify it, we maybe post it twice to rehear it. That wasn't the case. The case was we're back to the start, so do we want to start?
So, our proposed shed zoning ordinance as of May 2022, Article 4, General Provisions, Section 421, sheds 200 square feet or less. A shed can have a 5-foot setback from side and rear property lines. Required front yard setback, specific zone still applies. No shed can be greater than 20 feet in height. And again, that's a misprint. It should be height. H-I-G-H-T. Measured from the ground to peak. This applies to only one shed per parcel. All the other sheds or accessory buildings must comply with setbacks required for their specific zones. So that's where we're at right now. And we can have comments on
Mr. Chairman,
that. Yeah.
I strenuously object. There was a motion, and it passed at the last meeting to amend that ordinance. And that is what we are talking about tonight.
But we were told that we were in violation of the procedural
Planning board rules of
order.
procedure.
because it was not stated exactly that the alternates were setting for whom. So we have to go back. This is the first public meeting again. And we go back to the start of the proposed shed zoning ordinance as of May of 2022. So now we can have discussion, changes, input from the public and so forth. And then after we do this, if we do any major changes to this, then we have another one either next month or the month after for another noticed hearing.
And we could even
For the
do
public.
more if we felt,
Yeah,
even if
and
it
we
stayed
can
the same, I could
add,
add it
or-
again
Yeah,
to make sure everyone's.
What about,
So I would suggest where you remake your motion
what about subject to
that
Article
we had
5?
last. We gotta start from ground zero in the conversation with the motions and everything from last meeting,
Yes.
because of the semantics of what we talked about.
Discussion was all lawful, the vote was lawful, it's just,
I urge you to remake your motion, let's get it in here and then vote on it and move forward.
So Ken made a motion
Bert, we
last month.
highlighted the motion
Jeez.
that you did.
Subject to Article 5, which the motion passed.
Who made, what motion are we talking about?
okay,
Page 3 of 7 of last month's minutes. Vice Chairman Marrow said he would make a motion in a separate paragraph, subject to Article 5 special provisions. He explained that mobile home parks were included in Article 5. Mr. Spalding Sr. seconded the motion. The motion passed 6-0.
Mr.
Okay, where are you
David
reading, Ray?
Spalding, Mr.
right where you read.
Bottom of page 3,
Bottom of
second
page
paragraph
3
up.
of the last
Mr.
month's
David
meeting
Kibbe
minutes.
was an alternate and was not designated to fill a specific seat. And he does not have a right to vote, motion, or
And wasn't
second.
Spalding an alternate also?
Correct.
Yes, not designated.
And that, therein lied the
The
rub
issue,
in the conversation
the
we had
rub.
previously. So we just,
But if Mr. Spalding wasn't here, and if Mr. Kibbe wasn't here,
we would have had a quorum, so.
I still would have had a quorum.
It would have passed.
And we may or may not have had the motions. But the floor is open for motions and.
I'd like to make the same motion.
Absolutely. You guys can,
To be,
I reposted
to
it.
add, subject to Article 5 special provisions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it.
Ray,
What's the count?
So that one is
8-0.
yes,
back in.
well, you're gonna give, Ray made the motion and Ken second. Okay.
The question about,
Is there another, the 14?
And then,
There was the other changes. Do you want me to go over the changes that you guys were made last month and re-vote on them?
it's in the minutes, it's
yeah,
on page 4. It's
4 of
changes are
7.
in red.
Wait a minute. I'm still on page 3. Mr. Spalding made a motion to change the wording to 14 feet maximum height to the peak of the roof and single story. It was seconded by Mr. David Kibbe. A motion passed 4-2. Sean Glasscock and Ray Kibbe voted no. That's what the minutes say.
That's correct. But that's part of,
So we
That's-
propose to do that?
So,
we have to
proposed
redo
change
that,
on- yeah, the
which
wrong change.
puts us
If you
back
want-
with just
The
the
new-
black that
new
I read
wording.
first.
So Herb has skipped to the back.
No, page 4 of 7 is the next page of, at the 3.
Yeah.
And it shows the proposed shed zoning
Proposed.
ordinance with the changes in red.
Okay.
So should
I was
be,
just trying to,
I make a
The Article
motion.
5 is at the end.
So if you look at
Special
that,
provisions.
what would you like to do with the shed zoning?
I had a question about to peak of roof and a single story. And under the minutes previously, the wording was changed to single floor by Mr. Kibbe. That would be the middle paragraph.
So change single
At the end,
story
in
to single
discussion.
floor? Is that what?
Anything that was in red on that one is what was proposed.
for the minutes, it's on page 4. They're
I
on
know we
page
had
4.
talked about story and floor.
Yours
and-
doesn't,
and
you don't
for
have
some
the right
reason it
minute.
was
What do you,
changed to
you don't
floor.
have the right minutes.
Well, the notes in red, Herb, on page 4 match what Bert's motion was on page 3, up here in this paragraph. It says
Same stuff.
to change wording to 14 feet maximum height to peak of roof and single story.
Yeah, but if you could have further down that next paragraph, toward the bottom, it says Mr. Ray Kibbe said that they could change the wording to single floor instead of single story.
So,
where is
Mr. Spalding gave a scenario in which the proposed wording could be circulated.
so it didn't, apparently, based on the red, it didn't get there, so it's still
That's
single.
what I was wondering.
It's single story.
Yeah.
If we intended for that to get changed to single floor, or are we going with single story?
I'm okay with single story myself. But,
I don't remember why it was an issue that it was single story, to be honest with you.
Because the height of the building, if you made it that way, could be a second floor.
Right. So that's why we did a single floor. Is that,
Rather than
Rather than single story?
yeah. That's what,
14 foot, as an example. You could have 2 7-footers.
yep.
And a semi-flat roof.
Yeah.
But
This,
I went out, looked at some more sheds that we've been building, and they're just under 20 feet if they're built with a 20-foot side. I mean, you could even go greater than that, but you'd have awful skinny buildings.
well, in the
Still
paragraph, it
see
talks
that.
about, Christina had looked up height of a single story.
where we said
9 feet.
single floor.
It said, it said 15?
It didn't, it just says,
I did go look it up.
Hold on, I can't find it.
so I'm reading right in the middle of the page. It says, Vice Chairman Merrill said that the motion was 14 feet maximum height and single story. Mr. Glasscock stated for clarification that anything over 14 feet would need a variance. He was told he was correct. Don't say by who. Miss Donovan had looked up height of a single story.
And there were 2, whether it was residential or commercial, they varied. I think commercial is 13, single story,
Oh,
and
yeah, now I got
residential
it.
is 15
I was looking
feet.
up here.
So the 14 fell within that, so we stayed with
It
single
made
story.
yeah, single story.
Yes, Bert?
So My intent of surrendering from 12 to 14 was because of Mr. Glasscock. What he was saying was, you can make a sharp pitched roof or a low pitched roof, and it's part of design, an appearance that you want to make, not necessarily the function inside.
Right.
So, that being said, okay, but not so that somebody can do 7 and 7 in the flat roof. I didn't say that, but that was the intent.
Yeah.
At 12 feet, 6 and 6 wouldn't cut it. So what it did was gave a little bit of architectural whatever. But 20 foot, to me, for a shed, is just obscene to an abutter, because it is a building. It has gone beyond the normal connotation of the word shed into something else.
But if you look at most of the places that we're doing today have either 10, 12, 12, 12 pitch roof, they're just, there's
You go
that
to-
classic design, and if they're trying to match it, you do something with an odd roof, and that takes away from the landowner's rights, in my theory. That's
Okay.
why I went with the maximum that you could do. If you did something 20 feet wide by 10 feet, it would be, and decided that that's where you wanted your gable end for some strange reason, that's,
I'm not really talking about your vision, Dave, so
Yeah.
I'm not talking about your vision in this example I'm about to give. If it is an 8x4 shed being put up, I'm gonna get it on my snowmobile trailer. If it's 20 feet long, you're gonna bring it. So you're gonna see the big ones, I'm gonna haul the little ones.
yeah.
And I think there's more mine than there is of yours, but you know, that would be my vision.
But anyway, that's my input on the whole thing. That was, and then when you measure to the peak of the roof, what happens if somebody wants to put one of those little gazebos on it? Does that become a new peak?
Well,
So that means
part
that
of,
you,
it's part of the shed, so that would be the max height of the shed. That's the way the permit process.
so if you had an 8-foot shed with a 4-foot, you couldn't put a 26-inch
Right.
top on it, and a lot of our tops are bigger than that. And I mean, a lot of them.
I mean, my thought is, what is the normal shed nowadays? And you see a lot of sheds all the time. I don't
Well-
think, I think a 14-foot shed, yeah, that seems fairly reasonable, but it also seems like we shouldn't be limiting people to, like I said, with the design thing, a 14-foot shed,
Yeah.
most of them are bigger than that.
My wood shed is 16.
But the single story also
I can
comes
drive
in
my
for
tractor in full
stacking
extent,
containers.
so.
This is the shed we just did in Hanover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one was 20.
This is
Yeah, and when
only in
you have,
regards to sheds that get the
Those piers
dispensation.
like that.
You
Yeah.
could have really tall sheds anywhere else in your yard. I don't know if that helps, but I don't know if that
I mean,
helps.
Within,
I mean, to me,
Within
a
the
shed on the
setbacks.
very edge that, you know, is affecting your neighbor's property, you know, that's where the discussion comes in. You know, are you okay, I'm within my space, but, oh, I just decided that I don't like my neighbor and I put it up in front of their window that had that nice view.
And that's
And this,
completely legal.
Yeah.
They do it on
It-
Sunapee all the time.
Happens all the time.
If we, you know, with that 5
and
foot.
there's also a privacy issue with height. You know, yes, you can have a 3-story building over there, but when you put this shed out in the backyard, you know, to me, it just doesn't fit in small places. Other places, I can see it.
But if you come in 15 feet, you can build whatever you want. If you move it over 5
Correct.
feet, you can't do it.
but the whole purpose of the shed ordinance was to
So,
put a
What-
standard
what-
for setbacks.
to make it possible in dense areas. In non-dense areas, you don't care. The house is here and the property line is 600 feet that way.
Were you gonna make a motion, Herb?
Good, Are you gonna
to go
resurrect your
with
motion?
Page 4?
I make my motion over again.
Which motion would that be? Mr.
Well-
Baldwin?
Would you just I think going where Herb was going, just to change the language to match on page 4 what is red noted. Because that summarizes everything we talked about last week.
What was different, just single floor?
Yes.
14-foot max
story.
in height
The height and the story.
and
The height
to the peak of the
and-
roof, and a single story. It applies to one shed per parcel,
Right, we already got it.
and subject to Article 5 special provisions.
We already voted on the Article 5 and it passed unanimous. Ray made the motion, so, and Ken seconded, and then it passed. But yes,
Subject we would
Any-
14B.
anyone can make
So,
any motion. They can
I-
say it's 110, can make any motion.
I'll make the motion right now to amend the shed ordinance, the proposed shed ordinance, to, on page 4, the paragraph that's written under proposed shed ordinance, May 2022 with the red notes, that entire language down to new business. And that be what we put forth for the shed ordinance.
What about single floor?
It's in there.
It's in single story. It
Single
says in all that.
story. It shouldn't be single story, single floor.
I'm saying just the way it's written.
Story.
That's my motion, just the way this is all written.
That language acceptable.
That's my motion.
We got a motion?
Second.
We have a second by Bert. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No. So there's 2 noes, Sean and myself. The item is passed.
Those would be considered substantial changes, so that would need another
Yes.
public hearing, correct?
Absolutely. So with this, which could have happened, in theory, I'm just gonna do another public notice. It will not look like this. It'll look exactly like this. It'll be a set. If there are more changes to that, we keep going. If there aren't, you at that point, I would decide based on this shed ordinance seeming like it's a hot item, that we might even just post it again, just so you make sure you've covered, even if we don't make any changes.
Yeah.
Just re-show it again, but that would be something you could consider.
That's good.
I will have it with all the changes for you to review as a public notice next meeting.
Very good. Our next order of business is general residential R2 zone review rear setback alterations. I think you
The
had some-
minute, you skipped over the minutes, but I suggest,
Oh, I'm sorry.
administratively, I suggest maybe you table those, I'm not sure.
I think we've also tabled the June 8 minutes from
Well,
last.
looking at the, just to back that up, looking at this, the next 3 pages, I mean, Dave and Bert were participating actively, and they make motions and vote, so we're gonna open these cases back up and revote them.
What's that? On what?
Like this one?
Oh, because
Because either Bert or
Yeah.
Dave made a motion, like Dave Kibbe
he seconded.
made a motion, Bert
Motion,
seconded it, and then they both voted, and then you go to the next one, Mr. Spalding, Mr. Keller, so they all have the same issue.
Those two should and can be cleared up right now with a new vote.
Yeah.
Motion made by anyone here, seconded by anyone here, and then voted on by anyone.
Okay, let's go to,
I will make a motion to accept 2021 SPFP 005 as discussed and finalized at the July 13th meeting.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
What?
I said aye.
Oh.
I was trying to catch
Threw a
up.
curve at
I was
me.
trying to catch up there. I was still,
Why did you understand?
yeah. I was just trying to catch up.
Well, I said all those opposed, I said
I know, I
aye.
was still trying to catch up. I was looking to find what I was voting on.
Oh,
I told
it's
you
on
that.
page 4 of 7.
I
just under
see
the
that
shed
now.
ornament.
I told you that number.
You did, and I was looking for it.
Okay, page 5. I make a motion that we accept 2021-NX-002 as reviewed and discussed at the July 13th, 21 meeting.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
What? Can I
Any
ask a
alternate?
question?
Yeah, I have a question too.
Yeah, what if there's, with subject to, then, is that gonna cover that?
No,
All I'm doing is saying exactly as discussed and finalized.
Yeah?
Just repeating the vote of the final decision.
With
Okay.
Tobin and Sean not here during the
They were-
discussion and
I was here.
everything.
This was,
Sean was here.
Okay.
Tobin was
that one was
So, yeah, you
acceptance.
should
and the- and the-
abstain each vote, that's all.
Okay.
Got that, Maura?
Okay, and then bottom, I guess it would be the top of page 6. I would make a motion that we accept 2021 SDFP-002. Actually, wait,
That was continued.
that was continued, so we don't have to do, we already dealt with that tonight.
Yeah,
So
so that,
I will
we need to
rescind that.
we need to redo that.
we don't have to do anything with that.
So where's the minutes for June 8th?
We did not do them yet.
So,
I didn't bring the June 8th minutes. I didn't.
So
walk
based
through them
on-
Last time.
based on those comments and corrections, should we do the minutes?
Sure.
I would make a motion we accept July 13th, 2021 meeting minutes as presented and amended.
I've got a question, I think on here, if I can find it. Top of page 2. Mr. Dave Kibbe explained difficulties in compliance of a shed 100 feet by 100 feet. Did we discuss sheds that big? That's what I thought.
That's under Article 5, the special exception that I put in there. Because if you read that, for mobile home parks, they're allowed to have a shed. Actually, they're required to have. I believe.
Required to have
Yeah,
a
he
shed.
have
was
a-
talking about the size of the lot, 100 by 100,
Oh, that's,
and to place a.
okay, it says, well, the wording is that a shed 100 by 100, not the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be,
So that should be
Yeah, that should.
changed to shed to lot.
Well, if we're talking about the lot, yeah, I would say
Parcel.
that a
So
lot.
first sentence, either saying there's a typo, instead of 100, it should be 10.
No.
No.
No,
Should be
it
a
looks like
lot.
instead of a shed, it should be lot.
Or parcel, or lot or parcel. Lot.
Now, wait a minute. then the
That-
rest of the
that
sentence
wouldn't
doesn't
come out
make
right.
sense.
yeah.
What,
On that,
I was here, but I wasn't a voting member, but I can tell you what was said, is that he explained the difficulties in complying that a shed placed on a 100 by 100 lot and 5 feet from the property line, such as the country club motorhome lot would create, was difficult.
just
Could
add
change
two
that to
words,
mobile home too.
on a lot. Just add that before the 100 foot, on a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you could change it to mobile home lot instead of motor home.
So
lot.
leave shed.
Leave shed just put on a
And,
lot.
okay. Do you have that, Laura?
Mr. David, can you explain difficulties in compliance on a lot 100 by 100 feet?
Now, we're gonna-
5 feet?
We're gonna leave shed, just between shed and 100, we're gonna put on a lot.
David, maybe explain difficulties in compliance that a shed
On a lot.
on a lot 100 by 100, and then continues.
and then,
And
do we need to change motor home to mobile?
And Ray Kibbe requested that motor be changed to mobile, correct?
Correct.
Well, technically, it should be manufactured.
You're right.
Yeah, you're probably right, Ken.
But that might not be what he said, so
That's true.
Yeah, that is just a recording.
it's the minutes, not,
Yeah,
it's not.
That's true.
You gotta be real careful about manufacturers, because PBS is manufactured.
I guess in theory, somebody could still buy
But
one.
manufactured homes are mobile homes.
Okay. Any other changes?
I do. I want us to go back to page 1 of the minutes.
No, I mean on this one, we still gotta vote this in.
Okay,
as a
no,
change.
I'm silent. Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
So, on my motion, I will accept those. So, approve the minutes with those notes.
Okay, and Herb seconded.
Sure.
Yep.
Bert still wanted to discuss the minutes
Okay.
before we accept them.
Change, yeah.
Did you have more?
Yes, because when the shed ordinance comes forward to us, I'm hoping that the wording changes some. So I'm reading on page 1, below proposed shed ordinance, May 2022, section 421. Now I go, a shed can have 5-foot setback from side and rear property lines. The required front yard setback for a specific zone, so V and A need to be put in there. Required front yard setback for specific.
Didn't we already vote on the minute, or on the
We're not.
shed ordinance?
We're not
Yes.
gonna, they're not, you voted on not using that one.
We're doing.
Okay, but now
Yeah,
when it
but-
comes on forward on the new one.
The new one
This
was
is what-
voted in, that's the new
This is
one.
what was in
Okay,
the
so
actual
that's wording
ordinance at
has,
the
wording
time.
has been changed there.
So we can't
correct?
change
You
that.
make sure it's what you wanted, it's right here, that's
We
what I'm
already
putting
voted
in.
on
Yeah, it hasn't been voted. The motion by Ken, seconded by Herb, with an additional change by Ray, has not been voted on, as Mr. Glasgow said.
So we're not accepting the minutes, we're
Please
just
call for a
Needs
vote.
to put
accepting the
V in
changes,
front of
those
required.
two
Okay.
changes.
You're gonna have to make a motion.
Can I mark on that?
You can mark on that, and you're gonna have to,
Could you please call for a vote on the
changes.
motion in the second for page 2, first line?
Yep. On that first line,
anything else?
the changes,
Okay, I'm
and
ready.
adding on a lot and mobile to that statement.
Not on that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, now we can go back to the other one.
Thank you very much.
Okay, on the proposed shed zoning ordinance, I'd like to make 2 changes.
Okay,
It currently reads, under the new one, a shed can have 5-foot setback from side and rear property lines, period. Starts off with required front yard, the required front yard would read better. Setback for a specific zone still applies, the letter A in there, so those 2 changes, the and A.
Would that not be?
Hold on. Are we changing the minutes or are we changing?
Right, all we're
the
doing
shed
is,
ordinance?
right, we're doing minutes, so if you want to, those changes, we need to make at the next meeting for the shed conversation.
Right, it's in here, it's rewritten here.
Right, but the motion we just had to change the shed ordinance was this exact paragraph as it's written.
but you think
right here.
there was supposed to be an A on these minutes?
And now we're on minutes.
No.
If we're gonna change it again, it's gotta be at the public hearing next time.
This isn't voting on the shed, this is just voting on this
The minutes.
minute.
The wording that we're going to have to deal with at the next meeting.
We already.
That's
That's
already
done and
done.
done, so you
This
gotta
is just
bring,
a minute.
you have to bring those comments up at the next public
And,
hearing.
and if we add that A, it won't be major.
It's not
so it won't mess
substantive.
My
us up.
opinion would be the typographical errors, and you could make them without us.
It's not substantive, so it won't,
Right.
shouldn't change that, but that's when it has to be made. This is just the minutes from the.
All right, I think I'd like to make a motion
Yes.
to accept the minutes of July 13th.
So I made the motion, Herb seconded it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anybody that opposed?
I
And one
abstain.
abstention, it would be myself,
And
Well,
Tobin.
because I was not a voting member.
Well, although you can-
Now you got 3.
I've read it.
Good if you want to.
Three abstentions.
Probably better just to.
Who was the other 2?
Bert and Tobin.
Oh, you abstained?
No, Tobin abstained.
Oh, Tobin.
Because I was-
Oh, that's right, you
Yeah.
weren't here, but did
I
you
did.
understand
Yeah.
what was
He could
going on?
vote if he-
You can still vote
Yeah.
if you understand it.
Bert did also,
But we have a quorum.
Well, he was
so
here.
yeah, but he abstained.
Okay.
Quorum's maintained, so I can abstain.
I abstained because I didn't get the minutes until late and had not thoroughly read them beyond page 4. So,
And the June 8th minutes, we are putting off until next.
I will bring, I apologize, I didn't realize we didn't approve the June 8th minutes. I will have it at the next month's packet along with August 10th minutes. You'll have 2 minutes. if you like what they have to approve. I wrote that down already.
Okay.
Now, we shouldn't feel bad about that. The zoning board has minutes, I think, that go back into last year.
They do. You're absolutely correct.
Okay, now we've gone to, are we now in administration again?
Yes.
The general residential R2 zone review rear setback alteration. And
So this was brought up to me in the zoning board of adjustment by Jeff Kessler, although I don't know if that matters. It just happened to be the person that brought it up that requested that I bring a review of our ordinances in regards to the rear setbacks in the R2 zone. They are currently 25 feet. Jeff was thinking that that was a very strict and almost difficult thing to comply in the R2 zone. We get a lot of variances because people have only 50-foot yards, and to do 25 feet is, so then they come and ask for a variance. So he broached that I bring it up to you.
Can we see where R2 is?
It's right here on the map, the darker yellow.
Can we get the meets and bounds?
No. I can try to find those for next time, but
So-
they don't have it.
On a sidebar, can we, if we're gonna get these requests and everything, can they submit them in writing so we can at least understand what the heck they're trying to get at?
I can ask Jeff to we had a case that didn't meet, that wasn't able to fit his garage in with a 25-foot set, there's no way.
Right, but I guess to my point, it's hard to talk about something if we're just throwing gum at a wall. Be
He
nice to
wanted you to
understand
read-
what's going on.
He wanted you to review the setbacks that are presently in the rear, in the R2.
now R2 is supposed to be 25 feet?
In the rear,
That's it.
Where is R2 then? I can't see the map.
It's as far
Is
out
it
as you
Cheney
can get.
Street? What is it?
I think you're in R2, aren't you, Ray?
Am I?
I think you live in R2.
Darker yellow.
the R2, the setbacks currently stand,
Pretty much.
Mostly commercial.
So it's School
I mean,
Street,
it's-
Winter Street,
It's really the tight area.
yeah, Summer Street, one side of Summer Street. Yeah, it would be difficult.
Did they have a formal request of
Laurel
what
Street.
they were asking for?
well, they're not, this is up to you, it's really not the zoning board to write anything, that's for you to write it. So no, the rear setback in the R2 zone
Yeah,
is
they're small.
25 feet in
Yeah.
depth.
And we're in rural, Ken.
Yeah,
Actually, what street do you live on?
Willow.
What is it?
Willow.
Yeah, I know you're R1.
Rear yard not less than 25 feet. Under 208.5.
That gives you a better idea of what.
Each lot shall have a front yard not less than 15. Each lot will have two side yards, each of at least 8 feet, and a 25-foot front.
If the front,
Rear,
the front is
rear.
15,
The front is 15, rear is 25, the two sides are 8.
if the front is 15, I don't see why the back shouldn't be 15 or under.
I think that's what Jeff was getting at.
That makes no sense.
That it's
The
a
front
very
yard is usually
difficult
the
requirement.
one in contention. And if you could be 15 feet from the street, but you gotta be 25 feet from your backyard when the other guy is 15 feet from his street and 25, that's giving you 50 feet, that's almost a whole building lot in that zone.
What is it in R1, Ken?
In R1, it's 25 feet.
You
A
don't-
lot, and a lot
You
of,
obviously don't have to address the request. Or
Well,
you-
no,
you
but
can do whatever you
it's a
want.
valid
Yeah.
request, and I think that it should be addressed.
The request should be put to the board for another meeting, and then we have time to peruse it without doing it here.
Okay.
You know,
so,
time to sit down and go over it and look at it and digest it and compare it to others, etc.
so I guess, yeah, and I wanna back up to that point, so look at R2 rear setback. I
That's
can
what-
look at it all day long, I'm not gonna do anything with it.
Right,
What are we doing?
Jeff's idea was that he thought it should be reduced. That was the reason why he wanted me to bring it to the board.
Reduced
It's
to what?
25 feet now. But
I don't wanna
So-
go on a goose finding mission. I wanna-
So he wants us to review the R2 zoning's rules, basically.
It's the due
Yes.
diligence, it's
But-
the
but
duties
he-
of the planning board.
But he's not he's
But he
just
can do
keeping it.
that.
It's the duties of the planning board to specifically write the zoning ordinances. The zoning board cannot do that at all. So he requested you review the rear setback. He cannot do that, and that's why it was brought to you. You are
He
able
can't
to
change it,
review
all he
it.
can do
Any
is,
citizen can request a change to zoning. Any citizen.
Absolutely, but then it's the planning board.
You can't do
Yes.
that.
Yes.
But right now, we don't have a citizen coming to us. There's nobody here coming to us.
Jeff Hesser requested that I address it with the board. I'm
And
the
he's,
administrator.
The whole town supposedly is watching, so
he,
this
at
is remote.
this point, is requesting another board. He is therefore a
I myself, as the administrator,
Yeah.
can bring up
Okay.
possible ideas. Like I remember there was a noise ordinance, which we don't have one, and people wanted me to broach.
yes, we do have one. It's a civil ordinance. So it's not that we don't have one, it's
A
it's
zo-
a
in
civil
the-
one.
in the zoning.
So we've been down that road before.
Again, I didn't broach it.
That was one of those meetings where we probably had an alternate sitting here just for the hell of it.
I don't know, I wasn't there. All I'm saying is, I as administrator could bring it to you, and it was Jeff Kessler, the
But
BOS.
I guess,
Now,
there again, historically, since I've been sitting on the board, we get these requests that are random and come out of fresh air. It's like, please have them submit them in writing so we can understand the substance of what the mission is. If it's just review the ordinance, okay, we can read it, review it, yep, looks good.
what's the
If you
R,
like it.
what's the R1 setback?
25. Rear is 25. I just read it. R1. Front, 25 feet. Side, 10 feet. Rear, 25 feet. So in R2, it's slightly closer to the street,
So it's, okay, I just wanted
Slightly-
to see what the percentage
slightly
ratio
less
was.
side, and
Yeah.
more rear.
no, we
Not
can-
knowing-
We can discuss, but we cannot do anything without a public hearing in order to do the change.
To do the change, right. So one of the questions is, how did it get to where it is to begin with? What's the history of where they're at? Do we have any of that?
Now, that brings up a real interesting point. I don't know how many memories are good enough to go back to the 1980s, but I videotaped every planning board meeting, every one of them, and I have, you know those bank boxes? I have a pile of those bank boxes. So if we ever get to the point where we really question where R2 and R1 are, we can go back to the tape. The minutes should get you close, and we can go back to the actual conversation.
But somewhere there should be meets and bounds on every one of those things.
Yeah, every one of them
Should
should
be.
have a definition.
Without them, how do you make a map?
You don't, because they're
No,
more
you put 'em
binding.
on the
They're more
tax card.
binding.
And I say that the accuracy to me is questioning. If you read the Kellyville Village District, it says coming down 11 and 103 to the river. They got it crossing the river to the other side. And I've asked for it to be corrected 3 times. And then,
No, I remember when we tried to do the North Newport district, we were very particular on how we did the meets and bounds.
Yep.
Can I make a motion to table the review of R2 setback alterations till next meeting?
I'll second that.
We have a second by, my mind just went right out there.
Guess I know how important he feels I am.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Okay, we can
Mr.
take
Chairman,
this
can
up.
I
Yes.
speak prior?
Yes.
Do you want me to go to Jeff Kessler and have him put exactly what he's looking for in regards to the R2 rear setback, exactly what he wants in writing? Because I will see him prior to seeing you again, and I can request that he does that. Would you like him to give specifically what setback he's
Sure.
thinking about?
Because public input's always
I will do that then.
asked. I mean, I don't know how many times we've asked the public, and one person shows up or no persons show up. And we need the participation. This is where it all happens. So. Okay, our next one is communications. Do we have any communications with the board, Christina?
Not, I was, yep, no.
Okay.
What is it?
And I'll open it.
I apologize.
What? Go for it.
One credit union was supposed to be here tonight.
Seeing no one and hearing no one.
My opinion was to request legal counsel to write the next letter and giving them a certain time frame. Or I will have to do it again, but said they would come to last month. They've ignored what was written, what was in what they presented. It'll be 2 years this February. They then said they would come to last meeting. They didn't come. They said they'd come to this meeting. And I actually notified them. I could find the exact date of a letter that they had 60 days to rectify it. That probably was 6 months ago at this point. I was thinking that I could ask legal counsel, but I would only want your approval. If it should just be me writing another letter, or you'd like something stiffer.
We should look at them being in violation, and
Yeah, you gotta put that in violation.
if they cannot come up with a way of rectifying their problem, it's not our problem. They did not go by what
Was presented.
what was presented. I mean, it's as simple as that.
So they can receive, I don't come up with this, but the legal counsel, do you have a time frame that it should be redone in? And I'm thinking, this is my opinion, I think it should come from legal at this point, because they're ignoring me and they're ignoring you.
Fine. Have legal draw up the
If you
paper and
approve
send
it.
it to them.
Were they issued final CFO?
Isn't the planning board's job done?
Yeah.
Right.
Administrative
Yeah.
issue?
So it falls under the,
Yeah,
they're-
it becomes a violation.
If
It's
they're
just a
fighting
straight
me,
violation.
yeah, they're fighting me and they keep wanting you to see you.
Can't they just wrap the front? of those
They can do
lights?
all kinds of things. They don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
They were in complete violation of what they agreed to do.
So this really doesn't have any.
And we signed off on not having an engineering study done to save them some money and some time. And it's right in our,
They presented the exact picture of what they were gonna put on that looks nothing what they did.
so,
right,
that's
very-
like telling somebody that when you drive your car down the road, do so at 25 and they agree, and then they go down the road at 50 miles an hour. If they get a ticket, they should
It's
not.
it's very clear in the commercial
That's right.
ordinance that says downcast.
You guys also specifically, you
So
do.
it's black and white.
Yeah, it was in the minutes.
Dave, I have a question.
Sure.
With the new gas station that we have and the recent water damage that we had, I had brought up, had they changed anything? Remember that?
Yeah.
And nothing was changed. So I have no problem.
The only thing they changed, they raised the grade at the rear of the lot where the dumpsters were to make it shed forward. But we're talking 3-4 inches in gradient at the time.
And so my point isn't what they did or what we said. What my point is that we all, as board members, have to be cognizant of what's happening down there. And the next thing that goes in, is it higher, pushing the water on to everybody else? Is it lower to take more water for them, or does it have to stay just like it is? Because they are grandfathered with their rights to be there,
Right.
but they cannot raise their lot to flood someone else. In any circumstance, we never should have approved any raising of it at all. Yes, it was minor and probably meaningless, but in the next one, maybe it won't be. And I guess I would say to them, the footprint of the building counts, but I would have raised that floor in there 6 inches. And,
Well, then it would have been front windows and everything else.
Yep.
But to go back to your point about, I mean, you can alter the lot gradient wise as long as the water gets treated before it leaves your property.
okay.
So they have to do infiltration or new catch basins or something. And in that case, they kind of diverted to the catch basins that are there at the edge of the main road. by just raising it a little bit. Because we had that same conversation with the health center across the street, and they were gonna put, rainwater treatment in the parking lot and whatnot. We had the same, very same conversation. And then they dealt with the ditch and on the Elm Street side, and actually calculated the whole ditch. But they can alter the lot, but you gotta treat it before yes, you can't impact and let it all run off onto somebody else's without having dealt with it before it leaves your lot. I guess is my,
Every development that goes in that area has to be subject to runoff.
Yeah.
'Cause no matter what they do, it affects somebody else.
it's been a nice phone call to the insurance company.
Yeah, bring it to the store.
They're still,
They were open 2 weeks.
they're not open. Or
They were pumping gas this morning.
Yeah, they're just pumping gas. Yeah.
Yeah, the store part isn't open, just
Right.
gas.
Oh, okay, because yet they have to reapply for,
Yeah, they must have got their tank certified real quick. I see they had a boring machine there, but sample.
Anything else on communications, Christina?
unless something, I apologize that the one credit union, I had it in my mind all day, but that's all I can think of right now, and I obviously could have done it on my own, but I do like having your backing on going to legal, and they had asked, we want to talk to planning board, and it just kept getting delayed, so I am going to go, and I'll probably have CC Hunter in on the legal document that's drafted, and then I'll send you all the letter once it's sent out to them.
Come on,
It's
Joe.
really,
So just so you
it's
see.
really not germane to
You
the
don't wanna
planning
say-
board because
Okay.
it's a violation of your
Well, I just.
occupancy.
You made the complaint. I thought you might want to see
I
something,
did
but that's
not
fine.
make the complaint, but somebody,
Made it to you.
Oh,
made
made
it
it
to
through
me.
you. Okay, it got to me.
So come on, Joe Biden, get on and make your own decisions now.
Sure, I
Wow, you went there.
Did you get that?
know. I know, but I don't get it.
okay, let's go on.
Dave,
I would-
a couple things.
Sure.
I beat a dead horse on the minutes from July 13th. Under communications, the board, there were several items, there were 9 items in all that were supposed to be on tonight's agenda. Several of them we've already covered, but there was a couple, the town's attorney was to answer questions on proposed zoning ordinance, and the town attorney, land use attorney, was going to make a clarification of 674:37 dash small a small
Where are
a.
you reading this from?
This would be page 6 or 7 on the minutes from July 13th. There were 9 items listed under communications board.
Okay, so the first one we did, the second one,
Done.
we voted.
Yeah.
The case was continued, and you heard that one was done. I apologize, I missed the June 8th minutes, so I left that off. We just addressed the general residential that I will get a detail from Jeff. Administrative town's attorney to question.
Wait a minute.
What that was.
How did this get in the minutes? This is just communications to the board, but I don't remember ever reviewing or uttering any of these during the meeting.
Communications.
Like, for instance, item 5, the first time I ever saw any reference to that was in tonight's meeting agenda.
I had it on last month's agenda too, to review it, and I think I asked to continue it.
I don't remember.
But I'd have to double check that. But I believe I had it on last month's agenda.
I guess I don't recall what that zoning ordinance, proposed zoning ordinance was referring to.
There was none. It was just for you to review and the rear setback in the R2. There was
This is the one
no,
we just talked about.
Yeah.
Administration, town's attorney to answer questions.
Oh,
on
that's-
proposed
Oh, that
zoning
one, yeah.
ordinance. On number 6.
no, I'm not sure what was that one
Recall
about.
what that
Are
was.
these like your notes that you
No,
made
I don't
during
write the minutes.
Well, we had a conversation about 674:39, but,
I don't recall, I could rewatch the tape.
right.
Town's attorney to question on, oh, did I mention that once all the writing was finalized, for them to review it to make sure they didn't have any legal input. Was that the comment? Do you want me to do anything like that or
I
no?
think you can go back and look. 7, we don't know about. 8, we never had any discussion whatsoever about one credit unit in that meeting.
Because they didn't show up.
Number 9, we had no conversation in that meeting of.
I just brought it up. I just brought it up that when
I
credit
don't even
union was
remember. it
supposed to
coming
be
up.
there.
She did bring it up.
These are just things actually that I spoke to. She summarized all the issues I talked about.
I did ask a
what
question
happened.
on the urban lot about whether it should be an annex or a lot line adjustment, and was informed that the
Okay.
lot line adjustment
that was
hadn't
that
been
one,
enacted
okay.
yet, so.
Okay, so Herb, I am going to bring, I believe we are finalized on the lot line adjustment. I'm gonna bring it next month for you to all to vote it in and approve it for use. And then I am going to write the legal letter to one credit union. And I don't quite know, I might have to read the tape of what I was supposed to ask about the attorney about our zoning ordinance. But I think you guys have it fine the way you want it. Should I eliminate that, or do you want me to have them look at it?
I don't recall what zoning ordinance it referred to.
Were we changing something? Or was that the shed?
Unproposed, so I think it was about the shed. Let me review the tape.
My mind goes kind of blank.
I don't remember.
Because I was sitting over there.
I remember a discussion.
I was up here and I don't
I
remember.
remember
I ran a meeting and I
Why
don't,
do we need to
I guess I really screwed it up.
contact the attorney, but I can't remember why.
That was on number 7, and
Yeah.
the language is right up here. Mr. Spalding made a motion that the board vote to direct Ms. Donovan to ask the town attorney to clarify the rights as opposed to the regulations of section 674-39AA.
I did.
Oh,
I did.
regarding the powers of the alternate.
No,
No.
that was regarding
This is the
10 lots.
town and
The
the,
merger
Oh,
involuntary merger.
well,
involved.
we,
When it
we
went
discussed at length, number 6 or whatever it was, where
Yeah.
it was, if it reverts, if you request and it reverts, what does it revert back to? That was the whole conversation.
I
Yep.
did address that with the town attorney. And while it can get a little muddied, you do get reverted back unless you have created actions, either with changing a deed and not listing all 10, or your actions of the way you're using the land can nullify you being put whole again.
Part of the question was about, does it revert back to when there was a time of no zoning, or?
Or to the day it reverts to. The day the town, like we talked about earlier, the day the town merged.
My example of the 24-foot lots, put something on there. You can, because it's a separate lot, you can build on it. But then there are still zoning that is safety, meaning like fire. You can't get to the side of the building, 2 buildings close together. No matter what you do, you can't do that anymore. In other words, if you could have done it in 1921, to put them side by side, you can't do that now.
Well, what makes one zoning rule more important than another? I know safety is important, but.
That's actually not in zoning, that's in fire.
But that's where I question. So if you revert back and they become individual lots, no dispute.
Yeah, I
They
didn't ask,
revert back to the day the town
which would be.
merged them. If the zoning rule said, okay, you will have a 10-foot setback in 1972, the day they did it, then that would be what you have to meet. If you can't comply with those bounds, right, then you can't build on it, even though it's an established lot.
I believe
That was why we wanted to talk to legal to
Yeah.
get that clarification.
It doesn't
believe that
seem
would only
like,
be safety, because let's go back to 21 before you even had zoning at all, just as an example. You could have done anything with those lots that you wanted. So it's a quagmire that we've got to solve. And what I would like to say is I would hope the selectmen would act on this. Every person in that subdivision who has built over the property line has to be adjusted for that it is now not a separate lot, even though the deed says so. Because he has extinguished that property line.
But the way they wrote the RSA, they only have to act on it if you ask. So they gave themselves an out.
And after the December 31st, they don't
There's
have
no
to at
ask.
all.
Yeah. But it was started in September, get kicked.
But you do know that's the
all in-
second
that's what
deadline.
it- I mean,
The first deadline was well over a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I came in on that one and did one, and then they kicked the can down the road and they did 2 more.
Like I said, if it comes back as a lot and it's 24 by whatever, if you can't meet, at the time the town did that, if the zoning was
Whatever.
2 feet and 10 feet, if you meet it, you can build on it. If you can't, then you can't build on it. It's unbuildable lot. You have a lot, but it's unbuildable.
But you've got to say that we've got to solve this somehow. We gotta solve it as a community, or else it gets into a lot of litigation, what you can do and what you can't do. That's unfortunate.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
actually, well, one, I'm thinking maybe we should call the board with you doing it possibly. And two, as I presently do things now in my department, if you have an empty parcel of land, or you just have land, and you're looking to build on it today, so you come to Christina, I have to adhere to what's in there today. I don't care if you've owned the parcel for 500 years. You can't build on what the skyscraper they allowed. That's how I do it now.
That's my point.
Yes.
So when it reverts back, that's the
Since
date.
nothing's ever been built, they have to adhere to today's standards,
Right.
zoning rules.
And the law doesn't say that it reverts to it doesn't say it reverts to the zoning status that it once had. It says to
To
the
that date.
pre-merger status.
Yes, but if
Which
the
means
lot
it-
size is small, too small to do anything with,
They have to
now
go
you
for-
get into property rights.
No, you go to
You
a
know,
variance.
But that's why we wanted legal
So
away.
don't
because
have 'em
when it reverts
unmerged.
back, I think we've agreed that it reverts back to the day the town
If no-
involuntary merged
If
it,
nothing's on it, the way I act in any scenario.
is you go to
forget-
current.
I have to go to current because nothing's ever been built. If they had a structure, any non-conforming structure now, you can tear it down and you have to act within 1 year, erect it exactly the same, and then you can violate whatever laws you were already violating.
Right.
So yes, those little pies have to meet today's, or they go for a variance.
Or don't unmerge them.
That's the way I work now. So
Well, that's why, like I said, that's why we wanted to get council to weigh in, because the RSA, as it's written, leaves it undefined. in my
I'll
opinion.
broach that
And
when I
we'd be
ask him.
unmerging them because they would already revert.
Yes, please.
I'll broach that.
They would.
Yeah,
you know,
let us
say
know.
can't-
When you revert, they go to individual
Paperwork,
law.
so we can see it.
Which then, in the case you
I'll
looked
have
at earlier.
legal
that's
put it
what
in
we-
writing.
Yeah.
Yes,
why
but I
it's so
mean, but
easy
put it in
but-
our next pamphlet.
Packet, yes.
Packet, yes. Okay.
So,
Well, I would, maybe we should phrase the question because, Ken, you get a lawyer, you're gonna tell him something, and I get a lawyer, I'm gonna tell him something, and they're gonna get into court and they're gonna argue about who said what. So now, when this lady calls him on the phone, says that the board wants to know how the zoning applies to these lots. Is that the question we want answered?
I believe it's exactly. When they revert, in a compliance with that RSA, 674-39 AA and number 6 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
when they revert, it says they revert back to the date the town voluntarily merged them for tax reasons. How do you treat the lot status?
What she's saying is, she's saying she already has that answer. And if there's nothing on that lot, then today's
Yes, me today.
applies.
Right, so you basically have a lot, or multiple lots, that in and of themselves cannot be built on.
But we've not been given that.
Right.
We've been given it verbally.
Right.
Okay, and we're talking, you remember in school, they put 10 kids in a circle and you were one of them?
And how the
they,
story ends at the
by
end.
the time it got around the end, it wasn't the same.
No, I agree.
So I think we should have it in writing to direct us, because this, we'll have a time that it's gonna get real important.
Yeah.
What happens?
I'm gonna write the exact question you want me to ask. And then I'm gonna ask the lawyer to put in writing the answer. So, someone give me the exact question that I'm gonna ask. In regards,
If there's
To-
nothing on the
that.
lot now,
in regards to 4th Street, in this section,
Just 674:39-A.
Well, I'm gonna get to
We
the
can't really
specific.
specify a certain case, really. Can we?
Can for legal.
You could use this Levitt case as a example.
yeah, I'm like
to
thinking, because it's non-conforming. And all those lots are non-conforming. Although you could use this, you're right, if any, right, okay, go back to,
if you have a lot that has got nothing on it, and the deed's gone back to the caveman, it doesn't make any difference. You've got to build whatever you're building to the current zoning ordinance.
Right,
The grandfathered status is to own the property.
not.
If it has a building on it, then the building is grandfathered, even though it doesn't meet the setback, it stays.
Exactly.
Can you add on to it if you don't make it more non-conforming? So this side is close to the property line, and that side isn't, you wanna go 10 feet out that way, you can do that. So
So-
it's the,
Until you get to somebody else's
He
property
said it the
line.
same way I said it. If you have a structure that's non-conforming, you are absolutely allowed. You cannot build anything that doesn't meet, new, from scratch, on grass.
Can
That
we set
doesn't
up a
meet-
phone call to do this so we can have
Yeah.
a group conversation?
If you want, yes.
And it's 674:39, double A, paragraph 2, or Roman numeral 2, where it talks about restored. That's the specific instance we need to hone in on. And then, if it's restored, what does restored mean on all those different questions?
I still think we want the question answered though. The vacant lot has to comply.
With,
Building,
Current.
Current.
building.
yeah, that's the simplest question of
That's,
all.
that is what I do for
Right.
everyone else, and what I would do.
So we should just confirm that you're doing that
properly.
in accordance with the law?
Yeah.
Yes, even, for these even tiny little slivers.
Correct. So they're basically a lot that's unbuildable under today's rules.
There's
And that's
trailers.
really great. My island, DES says I can't build on it, I can't go on it, really? I can't cut any trees down. If I step on something, I might kill it, and it might be the last one in the whole river. So you can do nothing with it, but yet I'm taxed for it. So why I separated it is now they're gonna have to deal with the $6,000 that
So
they've
the-
assessed to property I
There
can't
should be
use.
an abatement of some version. Right.
Well, taxation, if I can't
That's what I mean,
use
it's
it.
an abatement on the tax side for unbuildable, unusable.
It's basically property that's been stolen from you because they're saying you own it, but you can't have it.
But what I should do is put it in the paper down in Manhattan, which is by way
Oh,
of
you'll sell it
island,
instantly.
and sell that for $40,000 to somebody from New York.
Cuomo's looking for a place to hide.
And we'll figure out how this guy's gonna deliver the house.
So yeah, that's the confusion. What does it revert
20-foot shed.
to on numerous fronts?
So it's any proposed structure on any size of land. Does it have to conform to current zoning code? Clean
So,
land.
if it reverts under that RSA, and the lot can't comply with current code, is it buildable?
You have to go get a variance.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what size the land is.
Right.
If it's 2 inches or 2,000 feet,
Yeah.
any new structure that is on empty open land,
Needs-
does it have to comply with 2019? That's my question, right?
think
No
it-
matter what.
I think that's fairly, to me, that sounds kind of vague. If you specifically ask them if they're trying to use this law and it reverts to their pre-merger status,
Just the
pre
land
the town,
does.
does the zoning for that land revert as well, or is it just the size of the lot that reverts?
I think the vacant answers that whole question. If it's vacant, it doesn't have a building on it,
You have to adhere.
and you want to do whatever, A, B, C, D, all the way through, are you subject to the current zoning?
Yes.
And the answer to that's got to come back, yes. And that gives us clarity.
And you can send them a picture of that lot, of all the lots up there, there's a whole bunch of them, and say, this is what we're dealing with.
Send them that whole case file.
Yeah.
The one we just reviewed
Yeah.
tonight. And say, here's where
Nobody
we're
knows
at.
about it.
Well, here's where we're at, this is what we're doing. The question is, when it reverts, what are the rules? Vacant lots, as individual vacant lots, and then as existing non-conforming being updated. That's the kind of the conversation.
I mean,
What zoning code you have to adhere
And
to?
the person,
because I mean, does it actually, I mean, just like you talked about, if somebody took down property, a building that was non-conforming, but they were grandfathered in, they'd have a year.
They have 1 year.
Yeah, so I mean, does that, apply?
No, there is nothing built on this
Yeah.
property. There's a big difference between something being taken down and nothing ever built.
But to answer that question, if you have a non-conforming building,
Property or building?
building on a piece of property, you cannot make it more non-conforming, but you can make it more conforming. So if your side yard is 10 feet and you're 2 feet, you can't do anything on that side. But on the other side, even though the whole building is non-conforming, you can add on to it, providing you don't make it more non-conforming. So that is the key. Am I correct in what I just said?
That's accurate for existing structures. For any open land that is not built on, you have to conform to 2019 zoning code ordinances.
To me, when we get to the end of 674-39 AA, I'm left at the end of a dead-end street with nowhere to go.
Oh,
I want clarity.
And I think that is a vacant lot, no matter how it got vacant, when it got vacant, and what has happened. A vacant lot has no grandfathered status to bypass the zoning ordinance.
of today.
So therefore, the question is, does the zoning apply to a vacant lot, whether it be voluntary or involuntary? Period.
Should probably figure out the zone it's in first.
Yeah, we need
I think
I
we've got
can't
something very
believe-
clairvoyant we're missing, but I think that's pretty well
I know,
defined.
I believe it's, I don't know how Greg, our assessor, would have them all wrong. I think the map's wrong.
I think
Let me figure that
No, I
out.
think the map's right, I just think the definitions in here need to get in here. This is a cheater book, where's the,
Well, if the map's.
No,
right,
no,
then
no,
the
I
taxes
was given all the
charged are
tax cards, I don't do that, that's the assessor.
I know, but in
But
the
the tax
definition of the
card-
zones.
Where
the
are they
districts-
picking up their meets and bounds for that
Right.
zone? That's what we need to know. If it says the east side, just say east side of Sunapee Street is zone 1 and west side is zone 2. Okay, well, this guy here has got the wrong card.
It's
It
there.
has to be somewhere.
Yeah, it's
So,
gotta
is
be
that-
somewhere.
Yeah, and if-
Oh, the boundaries, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes, 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 yes.
I can't believe, I can't believe the map would not match that.
One last little issue.
Sure.
Can we ask the administrator, notice I'm not looking at her, us to get paperwork sooner? Because I am retired, I have time on my hands, I research. Now, you might not want Bert to research, because Bert was the one that found all of these lots up on the hill and turned the whole thing upside down.
I
So-
concur, because it's been very frustrating not to get, we used to get packets in time to review, and although it be incomplete prior to Christina
time-
being here, but,
By the time I got home today, I had no time.
we're asked to review stuff and vote on things to protect the town,
Absolutely, so.
and we need time to look at them.
So I can go back to a lot of people that said they had no problem with electronic. Dave was the one I used to deliver by hand because he didn't want it that way. I can go back to mailing them all.
I personally think electronic's fine, I just
so
need
what-
time to,
So,
But if we
Some of
can
us
get
work
it,
for a
if we can
living.
get it at least 5 days before the meeting would be
but, so
great.
that would be, not counting the weekend,
Because that'll give us the weekend. That would give us
right?
the weekend.
So that would be Monday, Tuesday, and then that would be the Wednesday prior
Yeah.
to the meetings.
And
And if,
as he was saying last time, if they're complete, that would be super handy, because,
Yeah, the application.
Checklist.
The checklist.
well, obviously, yeah, yes, I can miss those, that was a mistake. You can vote to not accept it or ask them the question, but yes, I missed that. And,
That's okay.
it's not, necessarily that easy to scrutinize. Yeah, I forgot, I didn't get the price of the construction on that site. That should be a no-brainer, but I will make a note to scrutinize. So,
There would be one last thing. You have a blue pen that you're using. Can we get you to go to black? The blue doesn't seem to come out quite as clear on many of the documents I can show you.
you're serious?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so hold on one second.
Press harder.
Hold on, right. First of all, my photocopier stinks. I think that's the thing. Okay, so
That's Herb's problem.
the packets electronically, which is fine, and anyone who wants them not, I can do hard.
Yeah.
Electronically,
I don't have a printer on my phone.
5 business days prior.
5 days, you don't have to have 5.
You don't want biz, oh,
Because
okay.
we were talking just getting through the weekend.
Okay, that
Days.
works. Thank you, that
It's
helps.
5 days, not 5 business days, right?
5 days.
Five days.
Okay, 5 days prior to planning board meeting.
So,
And then how?
we'll get them by Friday.
You'd get them
At the
5
latest,
days
yeah.
prior would be, well, yeah, or Thursday.
Or
I won't
Thursday.
count it Thursday because today.
But don't count on the mail getting delivered on time.
And then you would like me to use black pen whenever, I write on the applications?
It just doesn't count.
Anything you need to copy, because sometimes the blue doesn't pick up the,
I wish I
Okay,
could-
I'll move everything to black pen.
Clean your copy.
yeah, clean the copy.
So black pen on,
You guys are gonna get us in trouble.
We get used to it.
It was something I had, I should have brought it.
All right. All right, we've got communication from the board. I will open it to the public for any public participation.
I'll participate.
Okay, go for it.
I'd just like to apologize for screwing up the last meeting.
That's
Even though
okay.
I do not believe that it was an error, and I vehemently will argue with anybody about that. So,
If you were a machine, I'd say you can't make mistakes, but I'm not a machine, I make mistakes,
could
so
I add to that?
go for it.
I don't believe it was Ken's error. I believe it was my error. I should have had the rules and procedures administratively down and should have addressed the 2 alternates to be seated for specific.
Blame does not need to be set.
Right.
We are, as a society, making life so complex that I will bet you that you can go out through every building in this town and find zoning violations or some violation in that building, whether it be fire or whatever it is, in
Well-
probably 50% of every structure.
I feel it
as
was,
I said, though, I think you can go to any board meeting, BOS, everybody included, and you're gonna find the same procedure was followed, and nobody's ever said boo.
the one.
Right, wrong, or indifferent.
I agree. The one thing I also thought would be nice for the public, if you guys wanted to, and what Sean did say, is that when you do the roll call, Herb is supposed to say, Herb Keller, BOS member, rep, member. And then you're supposed to say Ken, vice chair, sitting in for, if David wasn't here, since he is, and then you would get, that's the way he said. I don't think it's a bad idea if you want to, instead of just saying your names.
I should think Herb is more than enough.
Not to make it more confusing, but if, say, John was here as the alternate, and if I were here, he could not come in and fill a different seat.
No, and John, if John was here as the alternate, we would state John is the alternate for the BOS rep that is not here, Herb Teller. That would be stated.
Yes.
And he could still participate in
And that's-
discussion,
yes.
no voting.
Participate but no voting.
What is wrong if you're a member of the board and there's an empty seat that you sit? I think every one of us in this room would agree that the more participation in board members you have, the better it is. End of story. So therefore, why the complexity of, okay, Bert's an alternate. So I go to the selectmen's meeting next Monday or whenever it is, and I say, hey, make me a full-time, will you?
The planning board
mean-
made the rules. And
Yes,
they can change the rules.
yes, they can, and that's about to happen.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
believe
I
you
could see
signed
some
the
argument
rules
for,
at present.
like,
You-
the
Your
select
signature's
board
on it.
Yeah.
and their alternate, both seated the times that we've only had 4 people.
I just try to
Especially if it's
hold
something
what's-
that maybe the select board has some added interest. Now they basically have the vote to decide what the select board wants, not what the planning board should be.
So I could envision a time when something was appealed, some kind of vote or decision was appealed, and anything can be used against the board. So they could say, from any of the things that we, during our last meeting, they could come in and say, any of these guys couldn't vote
But we do need,
per your rules.
so we need to correct our rules of procedure, because this RSA as it's written makes having alternates and doing anything with alternates not even worth talking about. They have no teeth in the matter, all they do is fill for conversation. And you can't fill a quorum, you can't have a meeting, you can't do a vote, it's useless.
But they have to be placed, that's the
They
only
just
thing
have
we
to be
didn't do.
placed, that's all, you just have to say Bert's fault
have
and
to be
sitting in
placed.
for David, or that's it.
Why?
This doesn't say
Because
that.
it's in
It's
your rules of
semantic.
procedure, and I can't get the shit
in the
ordinance
rules.
wrong again.
The board members that appeared were, well, da-da-da-da-da-da, and that's
Well,
it.
And it also says the alternate, if they're seated, needs to, continue until the matter's complete. So even if it goes down 3 months,
Of course. as
then
long
that
as-
alternate will
as
have
long
to
as they're
remain, and
designated.
the primary
Absolutely.
cannot sit.
So what's the,
for any
so what's the
thing.
point, right?
Yes.
If they were designated for it.
The planning board holds people
We need a meeting
to
and
the
everything gets
rules.
cleaned off the plate.
We should
before
also hold
the
ourselves
original
to
comes
our
in.
own
Your own, your own rules, that's what I'm
Simple as
saying.
that.
You wanna change
Yep.
them, I just
we're
don't
gonna
want the
change
shed
it,
yeah.
ordinance to go up in smoke again.
We're either gonna change it, or
That's
I'm
it.
not gonna participate any longer.
That is it.
Promise.
You guys are acting like I made up these rules, I didn't.
Well, we voted to discuss the rules of procedure, so at the next meeting, we'll have to have, let's see, you should have a bulletproof vest and gloves and,
They're your rules, you can make it any way you wish.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll close the public meeting?
Now can I make a motion? to
You
adjourn?
can.
I'll make a motion to adjourn, Mark.
Second.
We have a second by Toby.
all kinds of seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Good night, thank you.